had made a huge move in the morning, then ultimately faded, and then is now kind of just consolidating near $2. So we talked about this one. We looked at this one this morning. We had some, kind of levels to watch out for. Was the 1.9. It had broken that in the morning, and we were looking for it to hold VWAP. It did break, but then it found the support at the 170, 175, 173 level. These were all levels that we had established or found out on the daily. Makes a bounce back, recovery above VWAP on the open. And then we see some pretty big volume come in on the open. And it wasn't a bit of a downtrend, so you are going to get probably always some good, or I shouldn't say always, but typically you get some good volume on the open. That being the case, if it's opening up stronger. And then didn't do anything super volatile. I mean, we kind of had, kind of an open near 2, and then just kind of, up and down. I mean, a little bit of a sell-off with some decent volume, but then held VWAP, came back, and then we broke that 220, that previous day high, and then really just kind of consolidated around this 2.3 to 2.4 range. We did have that 2.45 resistance, and it kind of held there. It wasn't able to break through there. After it kind of tested that, volume died out just a little bit, and then it just failed. It looks like it broke. It's like 230 range. A lot of people probably got in, kind of had that as a stop loss. Hoping for another break at past that 245. I mean, had some decent volume in the open, a little VWAP, but the volume was kind of decreasing. And so then when you see the break of the 230-ish range, it just kind of makes a big retracement down to VWAP. A little bit of a consolidation, but ultimately it just fades down. You have a little bit of a level here at this 204, like $2 level almost, but you can see volume is just decreasing as time goes on, showing pretty weakness. That is pretty weak, and just flushes down hard past the break of 2. Kind of then consolidates between that 1.7, 1.75 and 1.9 range that we saw it kind of doing in the pre-market. Looks like it tried to have a break of 1.9, but just broke out, but then immediately flushes down. And you probably had a bunch of people support or stop loss at like 1.8, 1.84, so it breaks out. So we see even a bigger of a drop, consolidating around 1.75, and then really just consolidating around 2 with kind of some ugly candles, kind of expected for a low float. Ultimately, we're kind of in a decent position for possibly more gains tomorrow. It depends. I mean, it is a low float, so if it gets a little bit of attention, it can make some pretty big moves. I think it needs to hover around this $2 range on the open, get closer to that 2.3 range. I mean, if it breaks 2.45 tomorrow, it could really be explosive. I mean, ultimately, it has kind of held to some degree the gains that it made in the pre-market. We did have a big dip down under low of like 167-ish, but it slowly recovered that. Nothing too crazy volume though. It's just going to need to hold that $2 range and grind up to 2.45 for bigger gains. Otherwise, break of 1.9 might lead to another fade. All right, let's look at CRXT. This has been rather just choppy all day. We kind of looked at it as a possible a possible bigger move today. Had a huge move yesterday, then kind of a volatile in the after hours pre-market, but was kind of making a move towards the upside in pre-market. Then on the open, just really volatile. Just kind of up and down candles, real big wicks, kind of choppy in a sense, and it just doesn't see any follow through. Had some pretty good resistance here at this 254 range. Couldn't hold it. You can see it broke over it, but then just immediately flushes out. Just not enough support there. Consolidates around VWAP, but then just kind of consolidates sideways for pretty much the rest of the day, kind of below VWAP. We have, look at this 5-minute chart. I can't really draw it, but we can kind of see a slightly ascending support. So, possibly it's slowly wedging up, I don't know, towards breaking that 2.4, 2.5 range. Had some decent volume today. Definitely not as much as yesterday. Yesterday we had a huge squeeze, and that was probably some long term, as well as just some relatively in the short term shorts, kind of getting squeezed up here from that 210 range. Might see some more again at that 2.5, but it's not really seeing as much volume or follow through on the buy. It's very choppy. Might be a slow grind, possibly in a day or two if it can hold this kind of ascending wedge. Might see another move on the upside. Otherwise, a break at like 210 might just be it for the day, and it might kind of, or not for the day, but rather just kind of for this trend, and then you might see a breakdown almost to maybe 180 or so. Don't have much support. I mean, we have two, but I don't think that's really has played as much of a level. All right, let's look at RDBX. This has made some decent moves, kind of from yesterday and then today. On the daily, we see a little bit of a downtrend just in the past few days. Had a gap up, I don't know, it was about a month ago, and then kind of are reaching that level again. We probably got a little bit of a squeeze off of that today. I think kind of had a breakout of this 295, almost 3 level. Kind of hit that as resistance in the pre-market, came back in the morning, hit it strong, tons of follow through on the volume, and then kind of grinded its way up to 385. But then after that, kind of made a retracement back down to almost that 295 level. This is, if I can grab it, a lower float, and kind of made some moves on some news. It seems like most of the move was in the after hours and kind of late day yesterday. It is in a bit of an interesting spot. We're just below VWAP. It needs to hold 3, break VWAP, and then I think really looking at, I don't know, maybe a break of that 325. That's kind of the, I don't know, I would say almost a resistance, but not necessarily, of the month prior's kind of uptrend. Did break it today, so I don't know how much shorts are still locked in at that position. Volume pretty much drastically faded out the rest of the day, so it might not see the follow through it needs in order for a bigger move on the upside. We might, if it breaks 3, you might see a fade down to maybe a small consolidation at 2.8, 2.85, but then ultimately down to 2.5.